So today's video is on the FZ07 Fender Eliminator kit by Yoshimura. First, you're going to need all your tools, which are going to include screwdrivers, Allen keys, scissors, an 8mm socket wrench, some wire cutters, and about half an hour of your time. Basically, we're going to just get rid of this ugly ass fender and make it all nice and clean. First, we're going to remove the passenger seat.
Or you already have your tools.
You can use those tools.
Take out the toolkit, you won't need that, just gonna get in the way. Next, we're gonna remove the front seat. There should be 2 bolts underneath the back section. Go ahead and just remove those. Then we're gonna remove the centerpiece using the 2 screws that are there. Well, we're not gonna actually remove it yet, we're just taking off the screws. Make sure you do remember where you're putting all your screws because you will need all of these. So it's basically just following your manual on how to take apart your bike. Now we're going to move the side panels, where the screws holding in the side panels. Sorry, I mean bolts, not screws. And I'm going to fast forward through most of the unscrewing, because basically this is just normal taking apart the bike. It should be in either the service manual, if you have it, or just common sense. Look at all the parts that are holding the bike together. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, the whole install is about like a 4. It's really simple. It really is just taking apart the bike. The hardest part is just the assembly of the kit itself. But now, removing the side panels will require the last 2 bolts holding the center section. Remove those, and then the centerpiece will be able to come off.
Then do the screwdriver at the very top for the yep.
Let's take a picture beforehand, just in case.
So see, there's 2 spacers there on the big nuts that you just took off. Not those, but the other ones. Those you're gonna need those spacers too.
I'm gonna have to take them off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you pull off the side panel, they were gonna fall into the. Cool. Save those.
You guys want
Yeah. After those are taken out,
Okay, so remove
you can go ahead and slide the little tail piece off.
That thing is just that.
It easily just slides right back out.
Now.
And now, before we remove the side panels, you do have to remove all the plastic push rivets from underneath the bike. There will be some holding the 2 pieces of the side panels together, and also holding in the plastics near the fender. Basically, just push them all in, and they will just slide right out.
Pops out.
Make sure you get every single one of them. You will have extras left over because some are holding up the plastic pieces, which you won't need anymore. Now we can go ahead and remove the side panels. They basically just pop right off, as long as you get every single bolt and all the rivets taken off. Just go ahead and pull them off, pull off both sides, and then just set them down. Make sure not to scratch your plastics. Anything extra you can just toss aside. Most of it's going to come from the fender. Now, the important part is the lights. We're basically going to unplug your turn signal lights and your license plate light. They're really simple. They're all color coded. There's no way to plug them in wrong, really. But they are nice and tucked in. So you're just going to have to unplug them using a little quick disconnect thing that they have. And just make sure to isolate all 3 so they are neatly tucked in with other wires. That's going to make the removal of the fender a lot easier. They do include zip ties, so when you put it back together, you can bunch them up again. Now that your lights are disconnected, remove the 4 bolts holding in the fender. You're going to need these bolts, so make sure you do keep them. Notice this whole part, we still haven't even touched the Fender Eliminator kit. All this has still just been taking apart the bike, which should take you around 20-25 minutes. Maybe take a break or something in between, but it's fairly simple. And after all 4 bolts are taken off, the fender will just come right off. Notice this is why we separated the lights from the other wires. You should be able to just pull all 3 wires out.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And then you're going to be left over with just the fender itself. Make sure not to rip any of the wires. So this is basically what we are going to replace with the new kit.
We're just gonna unscrew everything.
Big, ugly. I don't know why manufacturers put it. Looks horrendous.
We don't need
But we're going to tidy that up. Next step is, since we're using the OEM turn signals, we're just going to remove the turn signals. We don't need anything else from there. You can remove the bolts, but most of it should just slide out. There will be 2 little plastic washers holding the lights together.
It's just that this
just
little
remove those, slide the wires out, and you're good to go. If you are going to use LEDs or some aftermarket turn signals, you might still need those washers, so make sure you keep all the little parts. So lastly, you should just end up with just the turn signals. This will be the little plastic washer that I mentioned. You're going to need that for mounting it onto the Fender Eliminator kit. The next part will require some cutting and splicing. So included in the kit, you are going to get an LED license plate light, but you're going to need to splice that into the original harness, which is still going to be connected to the big piece you just took off. So you can just cut the whole thing and basically with the included connectors splice them together. I'm going to use just the male and female butt connectors that I had. Makes it easier. And after that, assemble the kit. It's very simple, using their IKEA-like instructions. Put all the bolts together like you see it in the picture, and as simple as that. Lastly, that's what is starting to come. Lastly, just mount the lights using the original brackets like I mentioned. It's all pretty much plug and play after that. Very important note before we put the bike together and put everything, make sure to test it. Make sure you splice the lights correctly. Notice my LED lights are working, so that's good. I'll turn on the turn signals to make sure that they do work with the appropriate ones. Like I said, there's no way to install them incorrectly because there's only one way to plug them in, but it's always good to check anyways. And last step, put the bike back together. Just make sure when you do mount the fender, use the 4 bolts that we originally took off the fender. Any other bolts are going to be a little too long, so just make sure you save those and separated those. And now you're basically done. Best way to put the bike back together is put everything in reverse order. Just make sure to put the bolts in the right spot because most of them do fit in different spots. And after this, you can take a break, grab yourself a beer, you're almost done. But at this point, might as well just finish putting everything back together. After you put the side panels, you will have extra rivets left over. Don't forget, a lot of them did held up the plastic pieces on the fender, so you will have some extra ones. So basically slide everything back together. Put the center piece back on, put your front seat back on, and lastly, your passenger seat, and you're good to go. And this is what it looks like before, and then this is going to be with the kit installed. Thanks for watching, you guys.